Gammajack. Hello, my name is the Gammajack, and I'm a new broadcaster on YouTube. Today I'll be talking about the new Ogre Kingdoms Release. Nice shiny book, etc., which I bought recently. It was very interesting, made even more easy to read by the fact it's now 400 colours and I'm colourblind. So yes, for me it was twice as expensive, and I can't read it without someone helping me. Perfect. But anyway, I feel sure that for everyone else it's beautiful. My initial thoughts on the book, I actually quite liked it. Historically, ogres could be argued to be an underpowered army. You didn't have much in your army in comparison to your opponents. And your individual units that should have potentially been good, such as lead belchers, could only fire every other turn despite being more expensive than other similar units such as an organ gun or whatever in the dwarf army or the volley gun. They became balanced, or had things written into them to be balanced, even though we didn't need it. They're already more expensive to have a unit of them. But anyway, I digress. That was a problem. Things were so expensive in that old book, we had bulls which were 35 points, iron guts 50, lead belchers 55, etc. Still the old book, so I won't get sued for saying those points values. That you couldn't actually afford to have much, which is also a shame. And then, when it got to the point that you were moved into 8th edition, and it became vitally important that battles were huge events according to the Games Workshop marketing team, it was much more fun to have huge battles. When you could still only afford about 20 odd ogres, you were hurt even more when people started using huge units. Which became steadfast, etc. in the new rules. Okay, so for me, this new release brought a number of key points. The army now, as a concept, can be both direct and deceptive, which I quite like. The army, when I mean this, still gets to run up and punch you in the head like an ogre should do. But you get the deceptive points such as the Thunder Tusk, which sort of by default, or no, rather by elimination, gives your ogres always strikes first, because it gives always strikes last to enemy units which are nearby. This is brilliant because it means that you get to basically knock a rank potentially off of an elite unit like Chaos Warriors, which are one of the few things that will actually kill a unit of ogres outright if they have enough attacks. It allows you to upset Bretonnian Knights, things like that. In addition, your magic slightly more deceptive because the law of the Great Moor remains the same pretty much, insofar as what your opponent will think of it. However, now you can do area buffs. You can have everything within 12 inches suddenly get regeneration, when normally your opponent would just go, oh well, regeneration on unit, that's fine. No, regeneration on everyone. And when you've got an army which is quite compact, your things are probably going to be within 12 inches of each other. So I would say that even though a few people on the internet I've seen have complained that the casting values are very high, when you're giving your whole army +1 strength, your whole army +1 toughness, and it doesn't specify ogres, so you can have regeneration, extra strength, extra toughness on Noblar units which are caught within the radius as well, which I know won't make them particularly awesome, but I wouldn't complain about toughness for people who are an undisclosed amount of points but very low. Another thing is the army is a lot cheaper overall, with the exception of Noblars, but who cares, they're still going to be really cheap. 35 points was the old bull thing. I can now tell you that's significantly less for a bull. In addition to that, units such as lead belchers, iron guts used to be 50, 55-ish, now again much less. In addition, the strap launcher, about 20% less than it was before. So you are actually going to have more stuff in the army. This kind of fits the general mould that Games Workshop wants you to have lots of stuff in your army, and it's finally letting you do that with ogres. Okay, more choice is probably the third and final best thing about this release. There are more units in this book than before. A lot of things such as man-eaters and gorgers have moved from rare to special. So you can now have a lot more of them in your army, which in my view is excellent. Weirdly, I would say ogres should be one of the more elite armies out there. You should be able to have man-eaters, you should be able to have gorgets, you should be able to have all these things, and then have a giant or a thunder tusk ever wander along with them, because the whole point is it's a small tribe of people that come to beat up your village. Also, they've gained accessibility to magic from the rulebook. They now have death, they now have beasts, they now have heavens and fire, which is brilliant. A couple of the rules I personally wouldn't touch with a barge pole, but that's just me. But despite this, it means that for any general out there, they now have much more choice of what they want to do. I personally dislike the Law of Heavens, but if you love the Law of Heavens, there's now no reason why you wouldn't collect ogres unless you actually pay an ogres from. Not the point. Okay, so I'll then go on to my favourite units in the Codex. Or rather, the army book, sorry. I normally play 40k, I don't know why this is my first video, actually. I should do something I'm good at. But I'd say probably my 5 favourite units in the release. Lead Belchers, because they were awful really before. I know they weren't terrible, but in comparison, they were a crock of shit. They were overpriced for about 12 points then, more than they are now. So you can have larger units now. Now you get between 1 and 6 shots, but you can't misfire. You don't have penalties to your shooting. Your ballistic's still free as standard. A lot of things are better now. Also, you can shoot every turn, which is fantastic, and you can still hit people with the cannon for a laugh. The only thing that I think they potentially should have done, made the cannons count as halberds. If I smack you with a cannon, I know I'm a bit scrawny, so that probably wouldn't work, but if I hit you with a cannon, it's probably going to hurt a bit more than if I hit you with like a regular hand weapon. So that's something I would have done. Anyway, they're decent, I believe now. Sticking with the shoot everybody thing, Iron Blasters I believe to be pretty good as well. They give you shooting on the move, but also counts as a chariot. The whole flank of your army, which used to be a couple of lead belchers, things like that, your whole shooty flank now can keep up with the rest of the army. Because you've got to remember that a lead belcher is a bull with a cannon, so it can still fight in close combat quite comfortably. Apologise for the MSN noises, I am very popular. No, actually, that's probably just, it's one person, but one very needy person. Okay, the next thing I would say is the Thunder Tusk. I like the Thunder Tusk personally. A lot of people saying, oh, it's over the Stonehorn Thunder Tusk, what do you like? Everyone was saying different things. Sorry, everyone was saying different things about it, everyone had a different preference. I don't really see why people would prefer the Stonehorn. Because it has more attacks, yes, but you lose those because you are going to have 3d3 impact hits in the charge. And no attacks. You're not going to realistically get the +3 because a monster doesn't add the extra swift stride steps. No point. The Thunder Tusk does get stomp, much like the Stonehorn does. In addition, it has an extra rider and 1 less attack, so you actually end up having the same number of attacks. You go first in close combat because of the Aura of Frost, whatever it's called. I won't read it now because I'm running out of time. And you get the shooty bits, you get a catapult on the Thunder Tusk and things like that. Finally, Man-Eaters. Man-Eaters are decent, they're really decent, they're in the specials place now, they can choose a couple of special rules. Swift Stride with the new Bull Charge rules, which is if you roll 10 or more on the highest dice, then you inflict D3 impact hits, will be excellent. They're also strength 5. The only thing I would say that's bad about all of these units are that if you were to include them all, the Thunder Tusk kind of eliminates the use of great weapons, because it just means you're striking simultaneously, so you pay all those points out for the thunder tusk, can't use them. Anyway, that's about the 10-minute mark. I hope this has been remotely useful. If not, please don't flame me. I'll be very sad. Anyway, hope that's been useful. I'd recommend getting this book if you have a vested interest in actually getting ogres. The books now are too expensive for you to just randomly go out and get them, unless you're so tremendously wealthy that your wallet is overflowing. Yeah, it's a decent book. Anyway, I have been the Gamma Jack. Good night.